Good morning, students. Today we are going to talk about the plot structure of Inheritance of Laws. Now we have discussed about the autobiography. We have discussed about the characters. Now the next step we are going to follow, that is the plot structure. Now see, this Inheritance of Laws written by Kiran Desai is quite a you can say it includes a lot of chapters. About 52 chapters are there, but then you did not go deep into the incidents that are happening. Just you need to have an idea of the main incidents and the writer has how the writer has webbed the themes together to bring out the things which he wants to say. So you see, I'll be giving you the major events which happen in each and every chapter. All right, so the main characters, you see, we have already discussed, that is Sai, her grandfather Judge, then we have Biju, then we have Cook. All right, and as we move on, we'll just keep on discussing about the major the traits of each character. So chapter 1, it starts it's around February 1986, a place called Kalimpong, and a beautiful setting in the Mount Kanchenjunga, where you find Sai is already present with her grandfather. All right, and then the cook is in the kitchen preparing some tea. And then with the introductory chapter, you come to know the situation of the things that are happening. And Biju, he's introduced here, who's the son of the cook who lives in America. And then a strange thing happens in the first chapter, that is several boys, they attack Judge's house, and they ask for the guns earned in the Indian civil services. Now Judge is he is retired from Indian civil services, and then you find a kind of dacoity going on in his house. And then we move on to the second chapter. And since everything of this Judge's house has been stolen and they have been humiliated, so the cook is sent to the police station, and then so that the police can inquire about the things that has happened there. And then the police comes into the Judge's house, and they find that though he's a retired judge, but his house is not in a good condition. And then the policemen start doubting the cook. Now see, here the theme of casteism and class identity has been clearly portrayed. Rather, what you can see is that now, since Cook is a poor man, right, so he has been he has been doubted upon his loyalty. Now since he's a poor, so chances are more for him to get greedy and get into stuffs like loot and all that. So the policemen go into his room, and they shatter the things here and there. And Sai, she observes everything what is going on, and she is unhappy by the things that are happening and the treatment that policemen meet out to the this cook. And later we find the description given to the cook's hut. It's very poor, and then he has a photograph of his dead wife, which was clicked about 17 years back. And then a brief mention of his son Biju was given by the author. She says that Biju, when he was a young boy, he was naughty and good natured, and he loved animals. And then a bit of mention is given about the letters. So nothing more you need to know. And then in the third chapter, we get to know a bit more about Biju working in Gray's Papaya, and it's a work restaurant at New York. And then in chapter 4, we find that Biju has he's in America, and somewhere he is not happy. Okay. And Sai, again, she is introduced a bit more, and shown how compassionate she is towards the poor, especially the treatment meted out to the cook when he is insulted by the policeman. And then she is very compassionate. She is very, down to earth type of a person, though she has been raised in a convent school in Dehradun. And a brief history of her has been given, that from where did Sai come, and she was a student of Saint Augustine's convent and things like that. And then we move on to the 5th chapter, and then again we have the description of Biju. Now, different restaurants he keeps on changing. You don't need to remember the names of restaurants, but then you should know how unstable he is. He is living in America without legal visa, and he is not secured. He longs for home. We find the theme of, alienation and isolation running into the upcoming chapters, and how one by one the author unfolds everything. Okay, and then we move on to the 6th chapter. And in 6th chapter, a detailed summary of Sai has been given, that how Sai came to Kalimpong. Sai's mother and father, they used to live in Moscow. Sai's father was a scientist in some, this spacecraft in Russia and all that. And then Sai's mother, that is the judge's daughter, got married to that Russian boy without his consent, and she eloped. And since then, the judge, all right, he had no relations with his daughter. And then Sai used to study in Saint Augustine's convent in Dehradun, and both the parents, like her father and mother, used to live at Moscow in Russia. And then we find that they met with an road accident in Moscow in Russia, and then both of them die. And then the convent, the management of the school, it's their responsibility now, since she is an orphan, so she is, supposed to be handed over to the rightful owner, her guardian. And the school records has the telephone number and address of the judge, who is grandfather, though Sai has never known him or met him. So you see, in this chapter number 6, we find that how Sai is being accompanied by one of the nuns from Dehradun to Kalimpong. And she is again alienated. She is not happy. From a different culture, she has to move on with in a different culture. And in the coming chapters, we will find that how unhappy she is, and how difficult it becomes for her to live amongst the people whom she doesn't know, accept the culture which is not hers. And then we see a sense of alienation, and how the writer brings about each and every character. On one side, we have Biju, the cook's son, who is alienated and not happy, and has a sense of nostalgia and belongingness. All right, and these are the themes. And on the other side, we have Sai, how she is, alienated, and how she is unhappy with the circumstances, and she longs for her home. She's not happy. Okay, so for today, just go through the notes which I'll be uploading. All right, and if you have any doubt, please let me know. I keep on reminding you. And at the end of the lesson, after you go through the entire plot, I have a few questions for you, MCQs. So just